The reason you're failing at trading is because of several different topics that I want to go over right now. And the first one is risk management. Now, we hear this over and over and over again. It's not as simple as cut your losses quickly, because if you just take that thought, then anytime you are red, you will cut it. And if you do that, then you're going to take a ton of losses that are not necessary. There's a lot of people who I have met throughout my trading career who are way better than me, and they are in multiple positions throughout the day where they are actually down on the position but end up being green on the position when they close out. If they were to cut when they were red, meaning cut your losses when they're going against you, right? Then they would just be red every day and they would not be consistently profitable. So that old adage of just cut your losses when it goes against you, if that's what you're doing, that's probably a big reason why you are losing. You need a plan and you need to make sure you cut it when it makes sense. Everyone's strategy is different. Some people use EMAs, VWAP. I personally just use support and resistance. So when certain key levels are broken, I'm getting out. If you use EMAs, when those key levels are broken, you need to get out. Don't just get out because you're getting red for a quick moment. Trades do not work out perfectly. They don't just go straight up and straight down. They definitely do not. Look up any stock. You'll see they're choppy, especially in this market. Understand, if you're that person who's just cutting losses anytime it goes against you, that's probably why you're failing right now. Another reason is you're risking too much. I really highly recommend you open a demo account and trade paper money. If you don't know where to look, there's many out there. One of them for free is TD Ameritrade. Another one is my sponsor, COBRA Trading. They actually offer demo accounts as well. You can check them out in the link below. At the end of the day, though, you need to practice, and practice often with fake money. And if you use real money, let's say you're someone who's been saving up, and it doesn't matter what number you have, but let's just say for this conversation, you saved $50,000 and you're ready to trade. If you take the whole approach of, oh, people say risk 1%, risk 3%, risk 0.5%, that is simply incorrect. When you don't know anything, you don't want to risk 1% of 50 grand. That makes no sense. You need to risk something so small that it doesn't even make you happy or excited when you win or when you lose, because you don't know anything about trading. Just because you learn a quick pattern doesn't mean you know how to trade. Understand that. So don't risk too much, because if you risk too much, you can end up not being able to come back. You can have PTSD from losses, and that can happen where you're scared to pull the trigger in the future. So don't do that to yourself. And if you're someone who's already done that, because I was there when I first started, one of my first losses ever was like 5 or 6 grand in like a matter of 5 minutes. One of my first trades, and it sucked. I had a job at the time, so I immediately said, well, I gotta go back to work. I immediately went back to work, but I was frustrated. Don't let that happen to you, because there's a lot of stuff you do not know. Even though you may think, hey, I know a strategy, that doesn't mean you know how the markets act, how they react, how things can change over time. So be careful. Make sure you risk very small. I want to take this time to say thank you to our sponsor, COBRA Trading. COBRA Trading is the go-to broker for day traders and short sellers. And I'm not the only one saying this. In fact, Benzinga awarded COBRA Trading as the go-to broker for short selling. They have a heavy focus on direct market access order routing, so you have the fastest execution. They have some of the best locate prices and availability. They also have amazing customer service. I've experienced many different brokers, and it's why I use them every single day and why I'm proud to have them as our sponsor. Sign up now by clicking the Be The Trader referral link below and earn 1 free month of software with COBRA and 25% off all commissions. Now let's get back to the show. Another reason why you're probably failing right now is because you're not figuring out, where am I wrong? Before you ever enter a trade, you need to ask yourself, where am I wrong? That is the place you should put your stop and get out when you are wrong. Or enter near that area so you can have a tight risk reward and have a really good reward ratio right in your favor. You need to ask yourself that. Too many of you, especially myself when I first started, we are money hungry and we're like, oh, this is a good setup. It's hitting my pattern. my EMAs, my indicators, whatever it is for you. And all you think is, oh, I need to take this trade because it signaled me. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, where am I wrong? So that way you can give yourself a moment to breathe, figure something out so you don't make an emotional decision. The reason I want you to think, where am I wrong, is because I don't want you to fall into the trap that many others fall into, and it's the reason why they're losing, is they're adding to losers. I did a one-on-one with a new trader who found success fairly quickly. He had a big account when he started out. He had about 100K, made it up to a 300K, and then lost it all the way down to 50K in 1 month because he thought he was just killing it. I know what I'm doing. And when you're new, you just don't know what you don't know. So if you want to do a one-on-one, make sure to click the link below. You can definitely book one of those. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you don't add to losers. That trader, his strategy was buying dips. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'll buy dips sometimes as well. But he would tell me that, yeah, I would just buy it when it dips. And if it kept going, I had a big account, I would just add to it. And I would add to it and it would eventually bounce. Sure, it can happen that way, but over time you will lose and you will not make it in this game if you think it is just luck. You need to have probabilities on your side. You need to track setups. You need to figure out what your trigger is, where your stop is, and take your loss. If you just add to losers, eventually you will be a loser. Another reason why you may be failing, and it's even more frustrating if I'm talking to you right now, when you found your edge, you found consistency trading small, you know your stop, you don't add to losers, you're doing great, but then you make the mistake of sizing up way too much too fast. I'm guilty of this, and it's probably why it's taken me some time to grow my own account, is because I would size up way too much too soon instead of slowly sizing up. What that is for you, you could determine. Some people use a percentage. Some people use a small dollar amount and increase it over time. You can figure that out. Some people increase it as they're winning, decrease it as they lose. There's many methods to sizing up. But if you size up way too fast, like I did, you will be frustrated. It wasn't until I decided, let me size up small every week or every month, however you want to do it, is when I started to size up and see the size stay instead of sizing up and destroying your account. Don't do that. Listen and learn from my mistake and from many others that I talk to. You're probably losing because you don't focus on one setup. It's so important that people don't even talk about on why it's important to focus on one setup, because one setup has many nuances within it that can show you the difference between that same setup when it's an A and it's a B, or that same setup when it's an A plus and you need other size, or maybe you shouldn't even trade it because it's an A minus or a C, even though it's your setup. That's why it's important. One setup has many nuances within it that you can play with and really become a master at it. I know many traders who really just focus on one main setup and it makes their year. So make sure you do focus on one until you get very comfortable with it. I'm guilty of adding multiple setups over time and it slows you down. You can still do it, but it'll slow you down. If you really want to find consistency, focus on one. Now, if you figured out all the other things I'm talking about, then you're probably failing because of the one main issue, and that is your emotional intelligence. You're not paying attention to your emotions. You're not acknowledging them. You're trying to push them down. You're trying to ignore them. I'm guilty of that as well sometimes. Whenever I acknowledge my emotions, like, ooh, I'm getting nervous here, I want to cover, I'm able to acknowledge it and then say, that's not what I want to do though. I want to stick to my plan. So really start acknowledging your emotions. If you ignore them, you will get trampled by them. Do not ignore them. Write them down. Type them out. Give yourself a grade at the end of the day and before the day starts on how you feel. That is significantly important. When I went through a hot streak not too long ago, I started to get more risk adverse. Everyone's different. Some people will risk more. I, for some reason, didn't want to risk as much because I was on a hot streak and I was worried that I was about to get hit with the monster, right? Everyone has their challenges. It wasn't until I started to acknowledge that I could actually still continue to trade with good position sizing and continue to hold for profit targets. So I need you to understand this. if you understand your setup, if you know how to trade your setup, if you've been doing it for an extended period of time, but you're frustrated, acknowledge your emotions, write them down, and I promise you, you will see a difference in yourself over time. Again, if you're loving this type of content, make sure to hit the subscribe button and like and share this with other traders because it really helps us out a lot. And again, God bless and take care.